Dragon, dragon, rock the dragon, dragon, ball Z. Dragon, dragon, rock the dragon, come get me. I'm not gonna do the air guitar, no. Hey, it's Chris from Legion Games. Let's talk games again, like usual. Now, this is a different video because in this video, I'm just going to tell you people that I think I would just love to share a table with. Now, I am not going to go too extreme with these views, but I'm also going to give you some people that are going to be obvious, but also a few people that are a little bit less obvious and very vague, broad criteria, I know. So super excited. Anyway, stay with me. So let's talk about that for a minute. These five are in no particular order. Like I said, people that I would love to share a drink and a snack and, you know, a night of games. Someone that you could just ring up. Well, nobody rings anymore. Text up and say, hey, me and the folks are playing some games. Come on over. We're just going to make a night of it. We'll grab a pizza and, you know, be very careful with it around our games, but just kind of make a night of it and see what happens and shoot the while we play. And these are the people that I would just be interested to make conversation with about games too, to pick their brain. And this comes from a variety of areas as well. Without further blabbing, let me just go into it. Number 5, Wil Wheaton. Now, this is going to be obvious, but also sort of under the radar because he's been out of the public light now for the last couple years, ever since Tabletop, the game show about tabletop games, was sort of shelved by Geek and Sundry, and that whole, I don't want to say fiasco, but just sort of that whole letdown. Because if you were anything like me, around that time was, you know, give or take, the time I really got more into the hobby and the hobby as a whole. And so for me, it was sort of an eye-opening, this is what games could really be like. This is what the community could look like. Now, granted, yes. Did they get all the rules right? No. Did they have fun? Yes. Did they make highlights and cuts of it? Yeah, but I think what it did for the community as a whole was amazing. And you still see that there are people clamoring for those types of videos out there. Especially because I think it shows celebrities. Now, some people said hamming it up for the camera, but I prefer to look at it with the glass half full and to think that they were just actually having fun with each other and, you know, yes, being a little silly about it, but just having a good time, and that celebrities could be like a little bit of us. The average, you know, board game, you know, group person going to play a game with their friends. I think that helped the resurgence. Like, hey, they're doing it. It must be okay to do it. Kind of like you've seen on the D&D tabletop scene lately. You know, you've got all these celebrities that have come out recently with being, you know, D&Ders. Oh my gosh, Vin Diesel, you know, Vince Vaughn, all these under the radar D&D board gamers that are, you know, making or helping the resurgence. So I think Wil Wheaton kind of led that charge, and you know I give him a lot of kudos because he stepped out of the limelight. I didn't know Wil Wheaton, so this is not a you know Wil Wheaton fan club sort of Shelton Cooper-ish sort of thing. This is, I didn't know him from Star Trek. I was always, you know, Star Wars on that side of the fight, so you can battle that out in the comment section if you will. Star Trek versus Star Wars. But I didn't even recognize him until I saw him all of a sudden. My wife and I were on our honeymoon boarding a cruise, and I see Wil Wheaton boarding like right in front of us. And it was the Jonathan Colton cruise, to find out later. And he was on it, and I saw him several times during the cruise. I never had the gumption, though, to go up and just even introduce myself. But he was chatting up with people, playing games with people all the time, and just seemed like a very amicable person. And I give him a lot of credit too, because he's been very public, especially in relationship to games and gaming, about his struggles with mental health, anxiety, and depression. And I've had some issues with anxiety myself, and so I relate to him on that. And I just think he is just charismatic and delightfully wacky to be around and to make conversation with. And you can see that in the way he approaches his videos, with everything from Acquisitions Incorporated, when he did it with the Penny Arcade guys, D&D, to the latest video that they put out with Tom Vassell and that whole crew, when he's now an ambassador for Bicycle. So just a guy I'd like to sit down and, you know, just pick his brain on stuff. Games, non-games, just everything under the sun. So a person that I would love to sit across from and just, roll the dice with. Now, number four, this picture always gets me. So you know where I'm going with this already. This is Will Friedle, classically more known as Corey Matthews' older brother in Boy Meets World, Eric Matthews. And again, this just seems a larger than life personality based on what you see in the show, as well as what he has done on his miniature painting show over on that was on Geek and Sundry, Painters Guild. I'm not sure if it's still on Geek and Sundry or what's going on with that, but he just seems like a genuine, hilarious, introspective, know who I am sort of guy. And he just also happens to like tabletop games. He does some D&D with Matt Mercer on Critical Role, where he's hilarious, and just his tone and his mannerisms. Just another guy that I think it would be hard to keep a straight face and not have a good time with if you sat across the table with him at a gaming table, whether it was D&D or, Sorry, or anything under the sun like Kingdom Death. So I think that picture, just sort of said it all. He's just there. He is what you see. I don't think there's a lot of pretense with either of these guys that I've mentioned, and that one is what makes them so relatable, and I think that's what's made them so successful up until this point, and that's why I feel like I would just love to be around them, just to pick up any wisdom that I could that's emanating or orating from them. So there you go for number four. Number three. Now this is going to be a sidestep, and you'll understand why I'm interested when I tell you my reasoning. This is Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Yes, the Democratic member of Congress. Now, why am I interested and why would I love to sit down across from her? Because, she just came and did, I think within the last month it was, the Among Us stream online with Twitch, and it raised 5 to 6 figures worth of money for worthy causes. And granted, I think this was well out of her comfort zone. So I don't think this is something that she probably, I don't even know. Maybe she does do it on a regular basis. I would love to find out. I would love to find out her views on gaming and in the culture and how it has impacted culture or how it could impact culture and just her general landscape of things because I don't know it. She's coming from a completely different perspective and background than where I am. And so I would love to hear her thoughts on that. And plus, she seems like, if you can't tell by a lot of her tweets, a very sharp, very straight shooter. And there's something to be said of that, no matter what industry you're in, especially the industry that she's in. So it would be a pleasure just to, as I said earlier, shoot the with her about whatever under the sun. And I think she's shown her willingness to put herself out there. And I think it would be a good time because regardless of what side of the political spectrum you fall on, it's about having fun, it's about engaging, it's about helping others. And I think she's trying to do that. And she did that with that stream because all that money went to charity. So whether or not you believe the political side of things, I think we can all agree that we want to help the less fortunate. And if somehow I could do that with her help, sit down at a gaming table and it was all for charity with it, I mean, that'd be even better. So that is number three in a nutshell. Now, number two, I've waffled on this back and forth. I was going to sort of hedge my bets. I was going to sort of, not necessarily do a person, but a more collective. And that might be for number one. But number two, I'm actually going to go with someone a little bit different again that sort of has a similar background as a lot of other people in a different genre, though. And that's why I'm going to go with Patrick Rothfuss. One of my favorite games is Talk. I love Talk. It's a great abstract game. I did a review of it, so that should be no surprise to you. Patrick Rothfuss is also the driving force behind the charity World Builders. Now, if you're not familiar with World Builders, you should be. I'm going to pull up their page here so you can see what they've actually done because I can't express it in words as good as it can display it. So let's just take a look here. So already to begin with, it's geeks doing good. I mean, this is our neighborhood already. They have raised over $10 million in just over the last decade for supporting humanitarian efforts worldwide. If you watch my talk review, this is actually where I got the cloth board for talk because the proceeds went to the charity. And Patrick Rothfuss is, like I said, behind this, he is the person. So, what do you need to know about this? It basically, he founded it after he realized how much of a following he had following his first book, The Name of the Wind. And he's used that to grow the charity itself. And he just seems like an all around sort of classy guy. Now, if you've watched now if you've watched or listened to the D&D podcast or live play that they do at some of the PAX conventions, you might be familiar with the other side of Patrick Rothfuss, the VR side of Patrick Rothfuss. I'll let you look that up later. But the most common phrase that gets echoed in those games is, can I get away with some of this Patrick Rothfuss type BS? Like bullsh, you know? And because of the outlandish, crazy things he does, and the fact that the DMs always let him get away with it because he's Patrick Rothfuss. And I, with his purpose behind that, again, as I said with number three, with Alexandria, if being able to sit down at the table with him, reach out and be able to do something for charity or just play with him and pick his brain on what he's been able to do on that side of things, but also he seems like someone who really does enjoy our hobby as a whole. Whatever I'm able to do with it, it would be something that would be memories of a lifetime, being able to sit down with him for a couple hours and just play. So without saying, it would be easily someone I would wish that I could do from some standpoint. So there you go. Check out World Builders, by the way. I'm going to throw the link in the comments below. It really does deserve your support, and it really does great things. So if that interests you at all, especially around this holiday time of the year, um, I, I would encourage you to check it out. So I am gonna hedge on things. I wasn't gonna do this, but I am gonna hedge on things. By the way, you guys are all, they're probably going, okay, is number one gonna be his wife? No, number one's not my wife. My honorary mention is my wife. She puts up with me. She'll play with me occasionally. In terms of tabletop board games, caught myself there, and so she is the honorary mention. She is not number one on this list because that's not a wish. That's not a wish list. It could be for some people though. Significant other playing games with them on the tabletop. So I caught myself there again. Anyway, just gotta stop digging my hole. Number one is actually the shut up and sit down, guys. Specifically, not to leave anyone out by any means, but I've been following since the original Quinns and Paul, and those two guys would be absolutely tremendous. I don't think enough good positive words can be said about them as ambassadors. Again, going back to the first point, as ambassadors for the tabletop hobby as a whole, and what they've been able to do and bring light to, and their own convention, and just the way and their own style. I don't share a lot of taste in terms of the same types of games as them. They're the only ones I think on this list that I actually have any idea what their taste in games sort of is based on their comments and reviews and things. That being said, I don't think that matters because I think, like a lot of us, the main objective is not whether we win or lose or how much we necessarily always like the game, but it's, are we having fun? There are plenty of games that I am not good at that I consistently lose. I'm looking at you, Space Base, and I'm just having fun with it, and so that's why I'm playing it. And I think the attitude and the energy that they bring, that's evident just in their videos, especially now with Tom doing new stuff too, is just these are just people that are like us that have a huge platform now, and they're taking advantage of it in a positive way for our hobby. And I give them mass props for that. And I would just love to be able to sit down with them. I mean, it's never going to happen. They're on the other side of the pond, and except for Paul, now he's over in Canada, and Canada doesn't like us anymore here in the U.S. with all that stuff going, all the COVID stuff going on. So it's a whole nother issue. But again, there would be guys that would probably if these were in order, these guys would probably be near the top, even though most of the other people mentioned on this list are more mainstream celebrities, just by the sheer nature of how I think I would be able to relate to them and just the conversations I could have, more in depth board game related that other people may not want to put up with, like my wife sometimes, who who just nods her head and rolls her eyes when I'm not looking, and I thank her very much for that as well. So, that's it. I mean, that's five. That's five people. I could have made this list 15 people easily with just the other people that are out there, and I probably will have to make another list of this because I've met some other people that have just been incredibly generous through groups and online in terms of advice and help and things like that. So I've already got a couple other people in mind, and I will probably have a follow up on this just because I think it's something that needs to be stated as well about the positive contributions that some of these other people are doing. So anyway, there you go. Feel free to let me know who else that you would love to see sit down across from you at the table. Uh, I'm interested to know who other people would have on their wish list because I think that it's just so broad. And I know I'm missing people, and I know I'm not very good at necessarily being as eloquent in these sort of descriptive movies, if you will. So take that with a grain of salt. But thank you for watching. Throw me a subscription if you like it. Otherwise, yeah. And I'll see you next time. Stay classy.